I'd like to call this meeting of the Clay County Commission to order. We will start with our invocation. Mr. Administrator, when you are prepared, please proceed.
Pray with me. Father, we're very grateful for this day and the blessings of the day. We're also grateful, Father, for your love for each and every one of us. We ask your presence this evening in this meeting, and we ask your blessing on this meeting. We ask this all in your Son's blessed name. Amen.
Thank you. Please rise for the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Please call the roll.
Commissioner Nolte?
Here.
Commissioner Carpenter?
Here.
Commissioner Thompson?
Here.
That brings us to the approval of the agenda. Is there a motion related to approval of this evening's agenda?
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda as printed.
Motion has been made for the approval of this evening's agenda. Discussion, are there any additions, deletions, or any other alterations to our agenda as published? Seeing no further comment, Commissioner Thompson, you are recognized to close.
I close.
Please call the roll.
Commissioner Thompson?
Yes.
Commissioner Carpenter?
Yes.
That brings us to meeting schedule. Mr. Administrator?
Commissioners, the next scheduled commission meeting will be a work session on Thursday, August the 19th, beginning at 10 a.m.
Thank you. Honorary resolutions, there are none listed this evening. There are no discussion items listed. No public hearings. That brings us to our consent agenda. Once again, I would just say for those listening who may not be aware of it, our consent agenda is made up of issues that are non-controversial in nature and do not spend any money. Any commissioner may at any time remove an item from the consent agenda to have it placed on regular agenda. With that, is there a motion related to tonight's consent agenda?
Commissioner, I move that the consent agenda be approved as printed.
Motion has been made for the approval of the consent agenda as published. Discussion? Seeing none, please call the roll. Oh, sorry, you're recognized to close.
Thank you. I close.
There we go. Now we're ready to call the roll.
Commissioner Carpenter?
Yes.
Commissioner Thompson?
Yes.
Thank you very much. That brings us to our regular agenda. The first on our regular agenda are three items, 2021-206, 207, and 208, which are related items. Mr. Administrator, when you are prepared, please proceed.
Commissioners, 2021-206 and 207 and 208 are all related to the approval of a purchase of network management, new radio equipment, and then the installation of the same, and also the purchase of a network management client license related to the radios that will be installed. And Captain Agdarian from the Sheriff's Office is here with further comment.
Please proceed.
Good evening, Commissioners. Captain Amy Agdarian, Clay County Sheriff's Office. As I discussed with you last week and presented this information regarding the radios that we need to purchase in order to be compliant with MAR's encryption deadline that was set for December 31st of this year, we are coming to you after having spoken with the Auditor's Office to identify possible funding for this project and the installation of the radios into our cars, as well as the network client management license, which would allow us in-house to program those radios instead of outsourcing that work.
Very well. Are there any questions of the captain? Is there a motion related to 2021-206, 207, and 208?
I'll make a motion to approve 2021-206, 207, and 208.
Motion has been made for the approval of 2021-206, 207, and 208. Discussion? Commissioner Carpenter?
Just thank Captain Agdarian again for the explanation. Sounds like a really important thing that we're doing here, and I'm glad that we've got the funds to be able to do it, and look forward to moving this forward.
Are there any comments from anyone from the public this evening on this particular issue? Seeing none. Commissioner Thompson, you are recognized for any further comments and to close.
I close.
Please call the roll.
Commissioner Thompson?
Yes.
Commissioner Carpenter?
Yes.
Thank you, Commissioners.
Thank you very much for your presentation. That brings us to 2021-209. Mr. Administrator?
Commissioners, 2021-209 is to approve a service agreement with Tank Management Services Incorporated. That is a request from Parks, and Deputy Administrator Kuntz is here with further comments.
Please proceed.
Donna Kuntz, Deputy County Administrator Facilities. Yes, this is a service agreement that allows us to meet EPA requirements for monitoring of the fuel tanks at our Paradise Point Marina.
Okay. Are there any questions of the Deputy Administrator? Commissioner Carpenter?
No, thank you.
Very well. Is there a motion related to 2021-209?
I move that we approve 2021-209.
Motion has been made for the approval of 2021-209. Discussion? Commissioner Thompson?
No, thank you.
Are there any comments from anyone from the general public on this issue? Seeing none, Commissioner Carpenter, you are recognized for any further comments and to close.
Thank you. I close.
Please call the roll.
Commissioner Carpenter?
Yes.
Commissioner Thompson?
Yes.
That brings us to 2021-212. Mr. Administrator?
Commissioners, 2021-212 is to approve a donation to the Clay County African American Legacy, Inc. The donation would be in the amount of $20,000 to assist them in the building of their memorial at Fairview Cemetery. This is a commission resolution, and that's the substance of the request.
Thank you very much. I'll go ahead and do just a little quick presentation. This is something that we heard about pretty extensively last week. We would be contributing to the construction of, I think, a very fine monument that would go in the cemetery off of Schrader, as the administrator had described. It is very nice to think in terms of Clay County being involved in building things up, not tearing things down. So I think this demonstrates a number of good things about this county, not the least of which is our ability to come together on several different levels and to acknowledge good things that we need to be doing in this county. So with that, I'll open it up for discussion. Commissioner Carpenter?
That I totally agree. I'm totally thrilled that we can contribute to, as a part of this effort, and look forward to seeing it to completion.
Commissioner Thompson?
I'll just say that I agree with both my fellow commissioners here, and I think this is a great project to move forward with.
I'll go ahead and make the motion on this one. One of the things I want to mention is that I think commissioners will have received or will be receiving information on a dedication on the 21st of this month. So, hopefully we can all attend and be able to draw some attention to this, I think, significant development. So with that, I make a motion for the approval of 2021-212. Is there any further discussion? Any comments from anyone in the public? Seeing none, please call the roll.
Commissioner Nolte?
I don't need to vote
That's
on
right,
this
you
one.
don't need to vote. Commissioner Thompson?
Yes.
Commissioner Carpenter?
Yes.
Thank you very much. By the way, for those who might have wondered what was going on, presiding commissioner only votes in the event of a tie, so had there been a split vote, then I would have been available to vote on it at that time. Moving along to 2021-192 and 193. Mr. Administrator?
Commissioners, 2021-192 and 193 are tabled resolutions that were originally brought up on the July 22nd meeting. They are relative to the request to approve a subdivision replat of Lot 6 of Apex Acres, and I will turn the floor over to Planning and Zoning.
Please proceed.
This is Kip Jones, Planning and Zoning Manager. So this is the rezoning and final plat request for the replat of Lot 6 of Apex Acres. I do have it pulled up on the screen. I'll give a brief summary. It is approximately 36 acres that the applicant is proposing to divide into 3 lots. We have the 20-acre lot in the back, shaded in the yellow, the 11-acre lot shaded in kind of the pink that has the existing home on it, and then a 5-acre lot in the purple. The 5-acre lot and the 20-acre lot are designed to be buildable lots where one single-family residence could be built. There was some discussion about lot size requirements. The lot size requirements come from some guidance in the 2008 comprehensive plan. That plan was adopted in June of 2008 by the Planning and Zoning Commission, and it divides the county into 3 tiers. This is located in the natural resources tier because it's so close to Smithville Lake, and that tier allows lots that are 5+ acres. There is a tier, and this creates some confusion, there is a tier that's closer to the cities that is called the urban services tier that does require a 10+ acre lot, but this tier allows the 5+ acre lot. There are 5 rezoning criteria that we talked about during the discussion last time, which requires review and decision-making bodies to consider those 5 rezoning criteria, and they are noted in the transmittal on page number 2 of the transmittal. Staff believes this request meets all of the county's regulations, and the Planning and Zoning Commission voted 4-0 to 1 to recommend approval. The 1 was an abstention because the Planning and Zoning Commissioner was listed as the applicant for this case. And I would be happy to answer any questions the commissioners may have.
Are there any questions for Mr. Jones? No, thank you.
Thank you.
Very well. Mr. Jones, I just wanted to verify that the request is in compliance with all county regulations and criteria. Is that correct?
Yes, sir, I believe it is.
Okay. We had some extensive testimony prior to this before. Let's go ahead and we'll get a motion on the floor, and then we'll hear from the public if there's anyone here who wishes to comment. Those wishing to comment, please line up over here. Make sure that the light on the collar of the microphone, and I can see it from here, is green. Please speak directly into the microphone, identify yourself, and then please express your opinions on this particular issue. Is there a motion related to 2021-192, 193?
I'll make a motion to approve 2021-192 and 193.
Motion has been made for the approval of 2021-192, 193. Before we go to public comments, any further comments from the commission?
No, not at this time, thanks.
Are there any citizens here wishing to comment on this particular issue? I'll ask one more time. Are there any citizens who would like to comment on this particular issue before us before we go to a vote? Very well. Seeing none, Commissioner Thompson, if there's no further discussion, then I will go to you for any additional comments and to close.
I close.
Please call the roll.
Commissioner Thompson?
Yes.
Commissioner Carpenter?
Yes. Yes.
Very well. That brings us to the end of our regular agenda. That brings us to comments on non-agenda items. Are there any members of the public here who would like to comment on any items not covered under this evening's agenda? Seeing none. Are there, excuse me. Oh, there is someone making their way forward. Thank you.
My mistake.
Oh. Or out. Very well. That brings us to office holder comments. I believe the clerk had some comments that she would care to make in that line, so please proceed.
Thank you, Commissioner. We've had, I don't even know how to start this. Due to the new change in county government, we are, all the taxing entities, there's like 52 of them. They're a bit confused.
Could you speak just a little bit more? There you go.
A bit confused of the deadlines and the dates that they will get their final numbers from the assessor and their tax levies. I had written them all emails in March, I believe. We had sent the cities an update. We sent them the timelines and the reason for the change. They really have the same amount of time to get their levies in as they did last year. Last year, we would get the final numbers from the assessor around the 1st of August, and we'd have them out to the taxing entities by the 10th of August. And then the levies were due in last year. They were due and had been for several years by September 1, and the county had to have theirs in by September 20. Well, with the new change in government, all of these dates have been moved back 1 month, and that includes our BOE. That's the reason our BOE is running so late this year into August, is because of the statute changes. So now the BOE will end August the 27th by statute. We will, and the assessor will do their little thing about getting us the numbers, and we'll certify them hopefully on the 5th or the 6th of September, and we hope to have all the numbers to all the taxing entities by the 10th or the 11th of September. That making all levies due into the clerk's office by October the 1st. And there's been a lot of confusion with the taxing districts because they just didn't understand even everything that I sent out. And I've talked to just about every one of them a couple of times. But I'm thinking we're all on the same page now, and I hope it all comes together by October the 1st.
By the way, just for clarification, you referred to the BOE, that stands
That's
for...
the Board of Equalization.
And that is the body that...
That's what we're waiting on, is the final numbers. We had 1,200 appeals this year, and most of it was commercial. We had, I don't know how many real residential, but we had a bunch of those. And as soon as those numbers, that's what everybody's waiting for, is the final numbers for an appeal to come in. Either they lower it or they raise it. So we're waiting for those final numbers.
And the BOE is the body which citizens or businesses would come
Exactly.
to appeal their assessed values.
It's a due process of law for the citizens, and it's really a good thing for the taxpayers to take advantage of this. Not advantage, but it's a good system. And Clay County happens to be one of the very few counties that has informals. Most of your counties do not have an informal for this, where the taxpayer just comes in and sits down and talks to the appraiser right then and there. And if they don't like what the appraiser says, then they go and fill out an appeal, and they come before a board of three people that has expertise in real estate. And then they make the final call, and all of those numbers are tallied up and sent down to the assessor, and then we get the numbers and we send them out to all of our taxing entities.
Well, thank you. I'm sure we're all happy that the county seems to be doing a good job of affording that opportunity to those citizens and businesses who would be interested in taking, as you say, taking advantage of that particular opportunity if they so choose.
I think it's a wonderful opportunity. People need to do that. It just kind of it makes the counties know exactly the right amount of right numbers. Keeps the real numbers correct.
Thank you. I see our sheriff has come up. Mr. Sheriff, would you like to make some comments on non-agenda items?
Yes, good evening, Commissioners. Will Aiken, Clay County Sheriff. I just wanted to take a few minutes to brief you up on the status of the Clay County Detention Center, especially after today when a very difficult decision had to be made, and that was to completely quarantine our facility starting at 10 o'clock tonight for 10 days. And the reason for this decision is because of the uptick in COVID cases and the presence of the Delta variant of COVID. And even though we don't have a COVID outbreak in our facility, we still have to take the precautions to protect the inmates that are currently in our facility. And we can't do that with the amount of inmates that we currently have, which is resting right around 230 inmates. We're working with the judges as well as the prosecutor to reduce the inmate population to get it to where we can have quarantine bays and then isolate those who are presenting COVID-like symptoms to separate them from the general population. But this will also allow us to, after 10 days, allow us to reopen and start accepting inmates for crimes committed. This isn't by any means a position where we don't accept violent criminals. We're still accepting people who commit violent crimes, crimes against persons, and case-by-case crimes, such as sexual offenses and stuff like that, or ones that the judges deem, let me rephrase that, violent crimes, crimes against persons, which includes sexual crimes, all right, and then anything beyond that is case-by-case. All right, so what we're trying to do is just create an environment where we know 100% that COVID does not exist in our facility. Right now, we have roughly 36% of our inmate population that is currently isolated. And the reason for it is because we can't tell whether they are COVID positive or negative. And the reason for that is because we don't have test kits. And test kits have proven to be a little more difficult to get for jail populations as opposed to the population in general who can go to any CVS, Walgreens, Walmart, Target, and such to get tested. So we're currently working with the Public Health Department and other nonprofit organizations to make sure that we can get those test kits. But here's the thing about test kits. I cannot trust them enough to have a false negative present as a result and then release someone from isolation into a population that is free of COVID, only to have them come up positive 3 or 4 days later. And so with that 0.0001% chance that it would result in a false negative chance, that's too high of a risk still to gamble with the rest of the inmate population. So the only sure way of ensuring that we don't have COVID in our facility is to quarantine the entire facility for 10 days and then create a new baseline and then operate from there. So I just wanted to let you know what was going on. We put it out to all of our media partners. We put it out on social media, and I just wanted to give you the opportunity to be briefed on it and ask any questions for clarification if you should have some.
Well, thank you very much. We certainly appreciate the diligence with which you are discharging your, heavy responsibility to not only to obviously protect the citizens from potentially dangerous persons that should be incarcerated, but also to protect those people who are under your custody, because they obviously deserve the protection that we need to afford them. So we certainly appreciate your hard work in this, and if there's anything we can be doing on our end, certainly working through the administrator or directly with whoever you need to, it would certainly be something we would be happy to cooperate with.
I appreciate that.
Do any of the commissioners have any questions of the sheriff on this issue?
No questions today, but thank you for coming up and giving us the heads up on this. I did see it on social media today, so I was going to actually reach out to you. I was hoping you'd be around tonight, so I was like, what's...
Absolutely. This was a
but
big
I
deal.
appreciate it.
Thank you.
Commissioner Carpenter.
Yeah, so first of all, thank you for being here and for the update and for working on this issue. I'm grateful to you. Could you also give us an update in terms of where we're at with vaccinations with the jail population in terms of the availability there?
So we have done an informal and formal survey of the inmates. And right now we're currently only at 17 inmates of 230 who are requesting the vaccination. The first time we took the survey, it was 17, but we have since had 6 leave our facility. And that's what I hope everyone understands, that the people who are in our facility, they're very transient. So they're coming in, they're being held, and then they're moving out. So even if they requested the vaccine 3 days ago, they're already gone. And so what we're trying to do, and it's pretty, it's a little more complicated than what I was hoping for to get the vaccine administered to inmates, but it's a little more lengthier than originally anticipated. But right now, our current date is the 23rd of August the 24th of August to administer the 17 vaccinations that have been requested. And what we're hoping is when the other inmates see that those inmates are getting vaccinated, then it'll start something and more people will become interested. But it's 17 out of 230 is where we're at.
Thank you. I wonder, are there any strategies available in terms of trying to encourage, because you're talking maybe 6 or 7% of the jail population, you're saying, with that survey that wants the vaccine, which obviously leaves 90+% that wouldn't get it. I've read a little bit about other counties with their jail population. Some of them are up at 40, 50% vaccinated. And I don't know what strategies they employed because obviously nobody's being forced in those jails to take the vaccine. Any thoughts as to that, how we could maybe move that number up?
Yes, and one of the things that we're going to be implementing is, or basically informing the inmates, because we're not going to make them, I mean, it's a choice even for them, is if we have to isolate or quarantine a group of inmates within a day room, cell block, then if they're vaccinated, then we'll know what their status is. If they choose not to get the vaccine, then they will be put in isolation or quarantined. And so hopefully with that information, that education piece, they can make a better educated decision on whether or not they're going to get vaccinated. After we reopen, after the 10-day quarantine period, everyone who comes to our facility will be isolated for 10 days before they are released into general population. And this is exactly what we did in March of 2020. And so we're just having to redo it again to get that new baseline for 21 and then proceed from there. But hopefully, you know, with the administration of the vaccines for inmates who are currently there, other inmates will see that and go, okay, it's not that big a deal, and proceed with it. But beyond that, it's just an education that we can continue to work on and make sure that they have all the information available.
Very good, thank you. And then just one last question. You know, after the 10 days is up, I mean, you talked about the availability of testing. I mean, is there some way that with the Public Health Department or with us as a commission that we can order and pay for some tests and make sure we got those ready to go for when the reset is over?
Yeah, fortunately, we don't have to pay for the tests. We just have to go through the process to get the tests, and this process is very new to us. We didn't realize that we were the ones who had to request it, and it's a form that has to be filled out. We have to have an antigen plan. There's several things that we have to do. We were under the impression that if we needed test kits, all we had to do was make a request through the Public Health Department, but that's not the case. So now that we've figured that out, we're going through the process of getting the test kits. But again, I need everyone to understand those test kits are not 100% foolproof. Okay, we're experiencing it with our own employees. Our own employees are coming down with illness, and we send them to get tested. They get tested, they come back negative. They get worse. They go get tested again, and then they are tested positive. And that, with that right there alone, I can't trust that in a controlled environment to rely on a test that is not 100%.
Yeah, no, I'm sure that's correct. With the false negatives, you know, I think the idea would just be that it would just be one of the steps that might be able to help with the mitigation of it, but obviously can't fully rely upon it.
Absolutely, and so that's why we're still working on it. That's something that we'll try to figure out a way to implement, you know, perhaps in a different way, and not just be 100% reliant on the test itself, but to also look at other mitigating factors and work it in. So that's why we're still going to proceed with it.
Got it. Thank you.
Very well. Thank you very much. We appreciate your report.
Thank you.
Are there any other office holders who would like to make any comments at this time on non-agenda items? Seeing none, are there any agencies who would like to make comments on any non-agenda items? Seeing none. Mr. Administrator, do you have any comments you'd care to make?
Just a couple, Mr. Commissioner. The first one is there's quite a bit of movement going on around the various properties of the county right now. Offices are relocating and moving into spaces. It's all very positive. It's all very welcomed. It's all very proactive in terms of all these various offices. But what I would like to do, some of us may have realized or recognized that it's a little warm outside right now, and I would like to recognize Deputy Administrator Kuntz and her facilities group, and I'd also like to recognize Information Technology Manager Shaw and his Information Technology group, because they are doing yeoman's work right now getting these various offices physically moved and getting people in a place that they're very happy to be in. But in addition to that, Information Technology is doing an enormous amount of work to move the particular information, the electronics and the technology from these various offices to another one. And they're doing a wonderful job. It's happening rapidly. People are out of touch only in a very short amount of time. And I just think these folks and their offices should be recognized for the wonderful job they're doing for the county and for the employees of the county at the same time. Thing number two, yesterday was the birthday of the state, the 200th anniversary of the Missouri becoming a state, and our Bicentennial Commission hosted an ice cream social on the grounds of the administration building yesterday. It was well attended after the storm passed. But again, it was another hot day, and the Bicentennial Commission were manning the carts and passing out ice cream. And the comment is that's only the first of many activities that we're going to do around the county over the next year, plus to recognize not only the anniversary of the state's 200-year anniversary, but also the anniversary of the county beginning in January for the same reason, 200 years. So the people of the county and surrounding area have much to look forward to. Thank you.
Thank you very much. That brings us to Comments from commissioners. Commissioner Thompson, do you have any comments you'd like to make at this time?
No, thank you, Commissioner. I don't today.
Commissioner Carpenter.
No, thank you.
I just want to add on to the comments of the administrator. One of the other features apart from ice cream was that we had the availability to offer any citizens who would like to avail themselves to have a COVID-19 vaccination. I would like to at this time just encourage any citizen to, if they have not been vaccinated, to consult with their medical professional, caregiver, and to make an informed decision related to that. But I was very happy to see that we had that option presented to any citizen who cared to take advantage of it. With that, that brings us to approval of the minutes. I don't believe we have any to approve this evening. Are there any written reports to the commission?
So we have one before you, it's a treasurer's bond from the Consolidated Library District. It's a statutory board, and they have to have a bond, and it has to be submitted to the commissioners.
Very good. Any other written reports to be presented to the commission? Seeing none. There are no executive sessions listed on tonight's agenda. That brings us to recess and adjournment. We are adjourned. Thank you.